Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we'll see about the Python introduction and some of the fundamental aspects of the Python. So first of all, you can simply go to the search tab and search for IDLE. Open that IDLE, which is the IDE of a Python, which is the development package or development editor. So first of all, you can see this triangular bracket over here where you can just write your commands. So from here you can write any arithmetic or logical expression. So let me say 5 plus 7, and if I just hit enter, you'll get the output of 5 plus 7, which is your statements. So this is your statement, and you can see the output which is just printed inside this cell. So this is cell, and you can write your command over here. So first command in Python is a print command, which will just print anything you just pass inside this parenthesis. So let me say hello world, and if I just hit enter, you'll see hello world has been printed in this terminal with this print command. So print is the command which will just print the value that is just passed to this print method. So print is inbuilt method in the Python. So next thing is you have to just open this file and press on this new file. You'll get this new window, and this is your script. So script is going to be those file where you can just write multiple line of code. So you can say that hello is one command, and you can say something like print 3445, the next command. So in the case of cell, you can only execute one command at a time, but in the case of a script, you can execute multiple commands. So you can see over here we have the print hello and the addition in the same file over here, which cannot be in the case of the cell. So next thing is to save this file. So I'll say that this is demo file, and just make sure you have to just pass py extension, which refers to the Python extension. So next thing is to go to the folder where you want to save. I want to save in the desktop, and let me just save over here. In order to execute this Python file, you have to simply press F5, and you will see the result that is printed in this cell, which is saying hello and 79. So this was the output of this Python script. So in this lecture we saw how we can just execute our command in this Python shell, and if you have multiple line of command, you have to create the new file which is called the script, and you can just inject all of your code inside there, and you can save it and run pressing F5, or simply go to this run and run this module with F5. And you can see the same output over here saying hello and 79. So this was the quick introduction about this Python shell and Python script. So in the next lecture we'll see all the fundamental concept of the Python. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we'll talk about Tor browser. So first of all you need to do is simply go to the Google and search for this Tor download. I'll just click on this link, and it will just redirect us to this page. I'll just install VMS Windows, or basically for this MS Windows. So if you see here, it will just give the Tor browser and your bit version, and I'll just go to this 64-bit, and it will give us the link. I'll just save this file, and it will be downloaded over here. So after you just download, it is a quick installation procedure. You should get this folder, and it will say that it has the start Tor browser. So it should appear after you just install to that on your system. So let me just close this because I have already installed, and you will see this start Tor browser icon over here. So let me just open this. Then you should get this Tor browser establishing a connection tab. Let it give a time to load, and it will just give us this Tor browser. So this is the Tor browser that is going to just open us the hidden websites that is in the dark web. So it is completely normal to use those onion website, but if you just use something for the bad intention, or basically if you do something that harms other, and basically if you do illegal stuffs on this store, it is completely illegal, and you will just get involved into the action that will just take by the police. So I'll just suggest you, so basically you can just get ideas of these Tor websites or basically the onion route link. We'll also see how to make our own onion route link or basically our own website on the dark web in the next lecture. But for now, let me just go to the interface of this Tor browser. So you could see that it is showing us DuckDuckGo, same as Google search engine. So this is the Google search engine in the Tor browser. So you could see this DuckDuckGo is very much reliable than the browser, that is Google browser, because this doesn't track you. So it is a very important feature of this DuckDuckGo. So you can search anything over here. So just you need to remember that any website that is visible in the normal server is also available in this Tor browser. So if you go here in our normal Firefox, you will search for the Facebook. It is also available in the case of the Tor. That means it will be available, that is this .com website, or basically if I just search for this facebook.com, then you will see that it will also load this facebook.com over here. So that means we can search the normal websites or basically deep websites that starts or basically that ends with the onion route or onion link. Like let me say this is the onion route. So this website can be also served in the case of the Tor browser. So just remember that. So this website will be also available over here. So just remember that is basically normal websites, and the deep link websites will be available to serve in the case of the Tor browser. So let me just open some of these websites. So before that, let me see what is over here. So at the corner, at the left hand side, you'll see that we have this onion sign over here. So let's click on that symbol. You'll just see the options that will pop out over here, saying new identity, security settings, Tor network settings, and check for the Tor browser update. So if I just press on this new identity, that means it is going to give us another identity for us, that is a new network connection. We'll see about the connection in a minute, how this Tor onion route works. We'll see all of this mechanism in a minute, but before that you can do that is click on this new identity. You will just get the new identity, new connection, or a new circuit for your connection. And if I just go to this security setting, you will just get this browser setting over here. It is in the standard, that means all the Tor browser and website features are enabled. If I just go to the safer mode, you will see that is it is just lacking some of the features, like JavaScript is disabled on the non-HTTPS site. That means it will be the safer than this standard, but it is likely be more safer. That means it is more secure system than before, because it will have these settings that is enabled or basically disabled, so that it won't be tracked by any officials. So that means you will have the JavaScript that is disabled, some fonts and math symbol are disabled. So if I just go to the safest mode, you will see the features will be just disabled over here. So HTML5 medias are click to play. So if I just press on this safest mode, and now if I just go to the maybe YouTube, so if I just play the YouTube, you'll see the drastic changes. So if I just go to the YouTube, let me just close this tab, and it is going to load us in a minute, because it has to go through different servers. So it is usually taking time than what we normally search in the case of a Firefox. So let it give a time to load. So it is taking the time than I estimated. So let me just play it again, or basically maybe okay. So you could see we are in this safer mode. So basically if I just go to the standard mode, and if I just press enter again, you'll see that we will get now the normal website, that is YouTube website, which will have all the features like this. So it has the JavaScript enabled and everything. But if I just go to maybe, let me just go to the safer mode, not the safest mode. So let me just press OK, and now if I just play it again, then you'll see the lots of feature will be disabled over here. So I think I haven't saved that. Okay, so something like if I just play this video, you'll see that, okay, let me just go back and play this video maybe. Now you will see that it has lacked some of the features. So it has lacked these features. So let me show you. So these were the security settings that were just lagged. So JavaScript is disabled on this non-HTTPS website. So that means some of the features like the gesturing and everything, that is DOM manipulation, has been disabled in this website. So that means this is more safer website than before, because this cannot be traced easily than that which was before. So next setting over here, so let me just close this one, and the next setting over here is a Tor network setting. I have to open that, and you could see I use a proxy to connect to the internet, this setting over here. Let me open that, and it is giving us some options. So if I just type the proxy, maybe SOC 5 or SOC 4, if I just open this website, which is maybe SOC proxy website, this free socproxy.net website, you can get this proxy from here. So these are the SOC 4 proxy, so you can just get those, and simply what you need to do is simply take these IP addresses, and these are free. If you want to buy the proxy, it will be faster than this, but if I just want to just give you the example over here, you can simply add the IP address, you can get the port of that IP address from here, and the username and the password over here must be optional. So after that, you'll just click OK over here to run your SOCs, and basically now we have successfully added that proxy to this Tor. But I won't be adding it. So you could see how to add the proxy, how easy it is to add the proxy to the Tor browser. So next thing in this Tor browser is this extensions, which is freely downloaded while we just download this Firefox. So let me just go to maybe here add-ons, and you will see it has the HTTPS everywhere, no script, Tor button, and Tor launcher. So this comes pre-packed while we just install the Tor browser. That is saying no script, that means it will just have the extra protection for this Firefox or for this Tor browser. So this is the extra feature that we get is pre-downloaded with the Tor. So we can source many websites, that is only a link in this Tor browser. So before that, let's see how this onion route work in the Tor browser. What is the mechanism of just making so secured system? So how these systems can be so secure that it is very hard to just trace by the officials. So let's see how this works. So basically, let's see how Tor browser works under the hood. So let me open my document over here. Let me grab my pen. So let me just grab this pen over here. Now you could see that, let me just grab it here. So you could see this is our internet over here, and it is the man, or it is the client who is basically surfing that internet. Maybe I want to get google.com. so you could see the server over here saying that this is DNS. That means it is a domain name server. So anything you type over here is going to be, so let me say give a quick example what is happening over here. So if I say something like www.google.com, so I won't type, I will just type z as google.com, and if I just surf this internet, then it will just go first to this domain name server. It will just check that google.com, and it has associated IP with it. So this IP is basically the way to just determine that it is related to google.com. So this is the IP that is particular to google.com. So that can be done. So something like if I just go over here and ping my google.com, you will get the IP of the Google. If I see here that this is the IP of the Google, you can clearly see over here. So this is the way where we can just get the IP address. So that is done by this domain name server, because internet only gets idea of this number, so they don't know anything about this. So google.com for this internet is just a gibberish. So first of all, we have to convert this google.com, which is basically the name that is given by the humans, because just remembering these characters, this number for the human is very tedious. So they have just given the name so that the remembering this name would be easier just than remembering these IP addresses. So basically DNS server will convert our domain name to the IP addresses, and after that domain name, or basically after that IP addresses is given back to the client, it will just give it to the ISP, which is your internet service provider, and through this internet service provider they will just make a request to the internet to fetch the website of the google.com, and this is the website server which has the address of 111. That means it is the website of Google, so it will just give you the page of the Google. So this is the way how the internet works. But you can see there is no security at all. So what if we just came as a man in the middle over here and we just grab that pages or anything, or basically your location or the data, so anything you have searched here can be just vulnerable. So you can clearly see over here that the data is not encrypted. It is not through the encryption, it is just sending the request through the ARP protocol, which is very vulnerable. So there comes the handy technique, which is this onion route. So let's see how this works. So you could see that it is the same picture that we just see, but now we have the different servers. So you can see these ADG are the servers. So they are located just normally or located remotely in the all of the locations that is throughout the world. So basically what happens now is, if you just give the address, that is your IP address, and now instead of just let me show you the example that we are just going to search for maybe Toyota car in google.com, which has the IP address of this 1.1.1.1. so you can see that the only thing that this server can track is your IP address and the things that is your data. So you can see that this server, which is the google.com, can just trace you back or get every information that you just do in the internet. That means this is not secure. So let's see how now onion routes makes this data encrypted. That means our connection or the network will be more secure than before. So first of all, you will have the information that is saying, hey, I want this data. So this will be gone through this server. So data will be encrypted first to this. So first of all, what happens is, so first of all, let me say you that this sends data from here, that is 1.1.1.1, and first of all it should go through this. So basically this is the first server that this will just get communicate to. So this will send that data to G server, and basically after that you can clearly see there is a layer of encryption over here, because if you just see every layer has its encrypted key, that means it will just get a time to just encrypt one layer of encryption. That means only one part of the messages will have to be only encrypted or basically decrypted by each of the server, so that the encryption will be much more efficient than before. So let me show you what is I'm just talking about over here. So let me just go to the documentation of Tor project over here, and you'll see that how this Tor works basically. So let me show that Alice is the one that is going to be giving the source, and you can see this dev is the another client that there will be the message encryption in between them. So first of all, what happens is Alice is just asking for the Tor nodes. So we have the Tor nodes, that is basically the server that is associated on different location. So they have the Tor nodes. So they are basically the Tor nodes or the directory server, and after that they will just get that Tor nodes list of the Tor node for the Alice, and basically now encryption happens in the next step. So you can see that over here that these circuits are so encrypted that every encryption have its encrypted and decrypted key over here. So you can see this is the encrypted circuit over here, and this part, which is this part, is your Tor node. So this is your Tor node, or basically this is your encrypted link again, but this link is your unencrypted link, and this part, which is this part, these three are your Tor nodes. So you can clearly see the message or the request is sent from Alice, but when it reaches to Bob, it will think that it is from this Tor node but not from the Alice. But instead it was sent from the Alice, so it was so encrypted that this Bob has no idea which of these node has sent these messages. So you can just now get information that this Alice is searching something on the Google. Maybe this Bob is Google now, and Google has no information that who is sending that information or who is sending that request. So this is the work of the Tor. You can see clearly over here how this is encrypted. And if you just make one request, let me say something like, okay, at first we just made the request to google.com, and in second, if I just make a request again to facebook.com, new circuit will be created now, and this circuit will be random than before. At first this was this circuit associated to make a link between Alice and Bob. Now for the second request, maybe facebook.com, now there will be another circuit created, so that this new server will no have any longer information about this Alice again anymore. So this is a very important encrypted technique in the case of the Tor, and we have to just see that how these circuits are created in the case of the Tor, and how we can just see that green link here is an encrypted one and the red link is the clear one or unencrypted link. That means this will have the information of this node, but this node is of the Tor nodes. So Alice will be having the encrypted communications with this Jane, or basically with this person or with this server, and that is the only way to protect the transportation of data, which is basically staying anonymous in the network. So it is very important features of the Tor, that is it will just make us anonymous in the network, so that if you do any stops, and I won't encourage to do any illegal stops in the Tor, but if you do again, then there will be something that is encrypted link, so that the person who is going to track, so basically I'm not saying they cannot track you, but there will be hard for them to just track if you just use the Tor for the attacking or for any stops that is not legal. So you can see that we have now talked about the Tor. So an analogy, I'll just give you an analogy of the Tor here. So you can just think this Tor is a mailing system where this mail, so basically we are mailing a letter that is received and forwarded by the different people. So here people is a clients, and there can be the connection between the Tor network to or a Tor node. So let's say there is one person who is Mary, and she wants to just send the letter to the Johnny. So what we are just talking about here is a person or a client is making request to another server, maybe google.com. So here we are just making an analogy that Mary is sending a mail to Johnny. So we'll see now how encryption works in the Tor, but the main thing is that she doesn't want to let Johnny that the letter is originated. So basically what we want is Johnny won't have any idea that the letter was originated from the Mary. That means the Google or any other server don't have any information of this Mary. So that is our main priority. So next step to remain the anonymous will be as follows. Let's see how this works. So first of all, Mary, who originates the letter, write a letter. Basically she writes a letter and places it in an envelope addressed to the Johnny in the Boston. So this is, just remember over here, what we just talking about is she places the letter and addressed to the Johnny in the Boston. That means Johnny stay in the Boston or to the server. Basically we'll just say that there is a server in the Boston. And again Mary places that envelope in the another and addresses it Susan in the Seattle. So that means this is the new server, which is our Tor node. So that envelope, which is obviously the message, is also addressed to Susan in Seattle. And again this Mary places that envelope in another and addresses it to Barry in Dallas. And Mary also places that envelope in another and it addresses it to Bob in Denver. And then Mary places the letter in a mailbox from her home in San Francisco. So basically this is the place where this mailbox or basically this letter were originated from. So you can just see that this envelope over here represents a layer of encryption. So using the rule that each person in this analogy can only unwrap the first envelope. So just remember that he only can unwrap the first envelope that is sent. So the conclusion or basically the contents remain hidden, encrypted in the most inner envelope. That means if you see the letter or the envelope, which is the layer of encryption, has that letter which is encrypted or hidden in the most inner envelope. So that is your encryption. You can see the Bob is the entry point here, Barry will be middle point, and Susan will be middle point again. So it is exit point, not a middle point. So she will be the exit point. So each of these has basically your Tor nodes. So they are Tor nodes. That means this envelope which we are talking about over here represents a layer of encryption, and basically this content, which is inner content, will be encrypted in the envelope. And just remember that every party over here, which is obviously this Barry, Susan and Bob, which is the metaphor for our Tor browser, or for our Tor links or a Tor node, will just unwrap the first envelope. So they have the priority to just encrypt the first part of the messages and not the whole messages. So that is very important to think about this Tor browser. We saw how Tor browser works under the hood. In this lecture, you can see these are your Tor browsers, and we saw these are your Tor links. They are voluntarily just kept across the world so that it will be faster than before. But you know that Tor, being so much safer than any other browser, has to go through many Tor links. That means it will be slower than any other browser, but maybe it is more safer. So we have the trade-off over here. We just have the slower browser that is more safer in order to do some pen testing. Now let's go to the some of the quick Onion link now. So first of all, I have this GitHub link over here. You can just check out from the resource section. So there are quite bunch of a link over here. You can just grab it out. So if I just open this Onion link over here, so let me just copy, go to our Tor browser. Let me just paste and just press go. You'll see it will just have the little less internet connection. So basically we have just opened the Tor shops. So this is the way how this Onion browser works. So you can just grab anything. It is same as the normal website. You can just make the Facebook. You can also go or surf the social websites, mailing websites. You can also host your websites, do many things. So you can see over here, this has the Onion route. That means this is the website of the dark web. You can do many stops from this Tor browser, but let me just remind you of some incident that was happened back in 2013. So there was this Harvard student who was basically, I just remember his name, it may be Kim or something. So he used basically this Tor browser to email bomb. So what email bomb is, he is going to just he was basically threatening the Harvard staff to just avoid taking the exam. So that was very interesting facts that he was just threatening to the Harvard staff not to take the exam, and the IT staffs at the Harvard looked at their logs. So they can obviously look at their internet logs, and that IT staff just identified that Kim was accessing the Tor on the school network during the time of emails. So they just catched him, and just FBI asked that Kim if he did that action, and Kim admitted. So you can see that Tor has worked, but Kim has just broke, because you can clearly see that Tor is not for everyone. If you want to make use of a Tor, make it in a way that it will just be not harmful for other. You can just make your message encryption much more efficient in the Tor, but if you just do any illegal stuff, it will be just tracked by any official in any time. So it is very dangerous to work with the Tor for the illegal stuff. So I highly recommend just you can go through for the educational purpose, or basically you can surf it and you can see how is this Onion browser work or Onion route work under the hood in this lecture. So in the next lecture will be interesting lecture, because we are going to just launch our own website as an Onion route from the Kali Linux. We'll just make our own server, that is Apache server. We'll just make our own website and we'll just host that website in the Onion route. So we'll just see you in the next lecture. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to see the reading and writing files in the Python. So when you are working with the Python files, you don't need to import a library in order to read or write the file. So it is very easy to read and write the file object in the Python. So all you need to do is call some of the inbuilt function and just manipulate and just get that file object and close the file that you just opened. So all you need to do is simply first of all use the with statement to do that. So before that, I want to make a quick program over here which will just get input from the user and show you how to write to that file you just opened and read from that file. So first of all, I'll say the input variable is going to input us, that is enter what you love about Python. So this will be input. I want to strip if there is any empty space or blank space. So after that we need to just write it to the file. So we have to make use of this with statement. So you can work with this file object using this with statement, and it is basically designed to provide much cleaner syntax and exception handling technique when you are working with the code. And this is the best practice to work with this with statement, because the bonus of using this method is that any file open will be closed automatically after you are done. So this is really important feature of a with. So we'll start using this with if we work in the file handling or a file input output. So as a with and open, we have to first open that file in order to read or write. So you can see the IntelliGence is giving us a suggestion about the file and the mode you want to open, and other are optional over here. So first of all, I want to give the name to the file. So I'll say fun about Python, and I'll just say txt, which is fun.txt, and I want to open it in the mode. So this mode should be either read or write. So I want to open to the write mode. So I'll say write and asf. So we are aliasing this file as f from now, and I want to write to this file with the input that we just got from the user. So this is as simple as here. So if you are opening any file in the write mode, and if that file doesn't exist, it is going to create a new file and it is going to write your input to that file. So what we are doing here is we are opening the file, we are aliasing that file with the name as f again, and we are calling that write method with this input that is entered from the user. So let's save this first, press F5, and it is saying what you love about the Python. So I'll say it's easy to learn. Okay, it is easy to learn. So when I just hit enter, I think it should create us a text file, and you can see here it is saying fun. Let me open this, and it is giving us it is easy to learn. Okay, so we have write to that file. Let's go back to our IDE, and now we want to give another value. So now if I save this again, if I press F5 again, it is saying what you love about the Python. It is powerful. So when I just hit enter, let's go back again to the fun. Now we had given that value it is easy to learn has been replaced with it is powerful. So we don't need that. We have to do something like appending technique. So instead of write, if I just pass here append, it is going to append the basically what value you have passed in the previous, and it is going to just concatenate it. So let me go again back to here. Let me save this first. Let me just close this file, and now let me save this, press F5 again, and I'm going to say it is dynamically typed language. Press enter, and let me go again to the fun. Let me just open this fun. You'll see it is powerful was given in the previous execution, and it is appended with now it is dynamically typed language. You can simply pass that is over here. So every time this is called, you can simply go here and put some separations or something like end with double slash or single slash n over here, which is obviously default, but you can do this in order to give some spaces over there. So this is the way to just create the file. So let's remove this now, and let's see how to read from the file. We have already created the file. Now let's see how to read that file. With open, we have to open the file, so it should be the same name which we have just created. It should be font.txt, and now the mode will be read mode, and I want to alias it as F, and now I have to read with this read command. So it is pretty much easy, but you have to print it. So I'll just say print f.read command, and let me say save this first, press F5. It is going to give us the result, which is the text inside that file, which is, it is powerful, it is dynamically typed language, which was the file text or content. So this is the file handling technique. First of all, you have to open that file. If you don't use this with, you have to close that file, but it is handled dynamically by this with command. So we are opening that file in the read, write or append mode. We're aliasing that, and we're just calling this read and write method to write to that file or read from the file. So this is the simple file handling technique in the Python. We'll learn more about this in the upcoming lecture. We'll see some of this technique and how this can be used for the hacking purpose in the upcoming lecture. See you in the next one. Hello and welcome to this lecture. This will be the first lecture on the data structures. So in this lecture we are going to cover about the list, the most used data structure in the Python. So first of all, what is list? So first of all, let's come with the variable. So when I just say variable, you have to store only one element to the variable. So you cannot store something like var saying 3 store me 4 5 6 6. This should not be valid in the variable. You can store only one data item to the variable, but if you want to store multiple items to the same variable, it is to be done with the data structures. It can be the dictionary, it can be the list, it can be the tuple. So let's see about the list in this lecture. So let me just say my list, and I'll say this empty square brackets. So when I just save this, and if you want to print, it will just print you the my list, and it is your empty list. So let me just press F5 to show you over here. And if I say my list and assign as empty square bracket over there, then you'll see that you will just have the my list as empty. So you are just creating here the empty list. So let's assign some of the integers over here. So I'll just say my list, and let's see 1 2 3. So now you can see we have assigned multiple data item to the same variable name, which is basically the data structures, which is the list. So we have created the list of numbers from 1 to 3. You can also make a list with a mixed data types. So we have learned from the previous couple of lectures, we have the couple of types, the basic fundamental data types in a Python. That is, first is integer, obviously the one integer, and next one is decimal, and the next one is string, and next one is your boolean. So let's close this first, and after this let's add the boolean, and it is also valid. If you just print your list, you'll see this is going to create us a simple list containing all of the mixed data types over here, having an integer, float, string, and the boolean. So we have created the list over here, the first list, which is going to get all of the data items stored in it. So you can also have the nested list. So let me just take an example, my list, and let me say it is going to have hey first, and after that the another list, after that the more another list, okay, after that the another list again. So you can see we have created a list which contains the nested list, which have more than one list. So it have one list over here, then another list over here. So this is the nested list. So let's see how we can access the element from the list. You can see we have created our list over here, which is the mixed list, and over here we have created our my list. So let me just copy this and paste it here, and now we have the my list containing a mixed data types. So let's assess some of these items from this list. So in order to assess the element, you have to go through the index. So what is index here? So index can be assigned with this square bracket again. So in the list, the first item is at index 0. So this is the position which we call 0. Next one will be 1, 2 and 3, incremented each time by 1. So if you just call this as 1, this should be 2 and this should be 3. And always remember, the list index start from 0, not the 1. This is not 1, it starts from O. So if I say my list O, then it is going to give us 1. And if I say my list and this time 1, okay, 1, then it is going to give us the second element of the list but the index having 1. So this is the way to just assess the list. If you want to have this to be printed, you can do in the two ways. I'll say my list. First way is to count from 0, 1, 2, 3. It should be as 3. And another way is to have the negative indexing. So this is important. Negative indexing is from the -1. If you want to print this true, it should be at -1, and you have to just decrement again. It should be -1, it should be -2, it should be -3 and -4. If I want this 1, it should be -4, which is called the negative indexing over here. So we have got 1, which is at the position of -4, which is our negative indexing. So next thing is to slice the list. Now slice is to get part of the list. We want to get the multiple element of a list as a slice. So same as the pizza slice, we want to get some part of the list. So in order to get some part of list, let me create big list for now. So instead of this list, let me just clear and open the new console, and now let me just create now big list over here. So this will contain the basically, okay, I'll just say 1, 2, 3. So the random elements over here. So let's close this list. We have created the list. So now what if we want to do is we want to have the element from this, maybe from 3 to maybe 66. We want every element from this 3 to 66. So let's see how we can just get that. And this technique is called slicing technique. So first of all, we have to go through the index again. So 1 is at 0, 1, 2 is at 1, and 3 is at position 2, but position 3, but index is 2. So we'll just go from 2 because we want to include 3, and we have to give the colon, and we want to reach at 66. So this is as 2, 3, 4, and 66 is 5. So if you just pass 5 here, this is the explicit position, so this is not included. If you want to include this 5th position, you have to pass 6, because this position is going to be ignored. So 6th position here, or the 6th index, is at 7, and this is not included. Only up to here is to be included. So if I hit enter, it will show us 3, 4, 5, 66. 7 is not included, though it has the index of 6, but this is the ignorable position, or this is not an included position. If you just pass my list and from 2 to 5 again, which is the position of 66 index, it will just give us 3, 4, 5, but not 66. This is the ignorable position. And now you can also do something from the beginning to maybe from here beginning to 5. If you want from beginning to 5, we can do something like leave the first position. If you leave first position, it will just defaultly start from the first index and just count from there. 0th, 1, 2, 3, 4, we want 2 5, that means we have to include this fifth, and let's close this. So it is giving us 1 2 3 4 5. So the next thing is the step position. So let's see the step position. So I'll just say my list, and the first one is default. Let's say second one is also default. If you pass third one, so this third one is basically the step. So step is the loop, or basically what is to be included. If I pass 2 over here, it is going to leave one step in each of the elements. So you can see, if you just pass 2 over here, this one was printed, but instead of printing 2, it has directly jumped to 3. It has left out 4, it has left out 66. So one step has been not included in the output list. If I say something like my list, again go from beginning, if you don't pass anything, it will go from beginning, and again if you don't pass anything over here, it will just go till the end. And if I say 3 over here, and if I print, now again it is going to remove the 2 element. So step has been 3 here, that means it is going to remove the 2 element from each of these part. So you can see 1472 has been printed with this slicing technique. Now let's see some of the important methods of the list. So first of all, I'll make the odd element over here, 1 3 5 7. So now if we want to append or add another element, we can make use of this append method of the list, and I'll say the next would be 9. And now if I print odd, you would see now 1 3 5 7 9 has been appended to this odd list. So you can do similarly. Let me say, if you want to add multiple elements, so in the case of append you can add only one element, but if you want to add multiple element, you can simply do extend 11 13 15. And now, okay, what we have just done here was we have to extend with the list. So we have just made a small mistake over here, because this should be iterable. It has shown right over here and we haven't passed in the list. So I'll say 11 13 and again 15, close the list, close the method, and if you just print odd, now it has been extended. So 1 3 5 7 9 was the initial odd. Now 11 13 15 was added from this extend method of this Python list. So you can also do something like insert. Let's go back again, print this, and if I just say odd is 1 and 9, and now if you want to insert the element, you can simply do insert, and now if I say 1 and 3, okay, what we just did over here was we wanted to add this third element in the first position. So this insert method will take the position where you want to insert, or basically the index. So index is basically the 1, that means we want to insert in the middle of the 1 and 9, because 1 is at 0th, 9 is at 1 position, but now in this position we want to add 3. So when I just insert this, print odd, you'll see 3 has been inserted now in middle of 1 and 9. So this is the way to just insert the element using this insert method. Next is to see our remove method, delete method. So let's see about that. So first of all, let's see our list. So let's create the new list, and I'll say 1 2. This is our list. So next thing is to just delete the list. So I'll say I want to delete some part of the list, some element of the list. You can do that by using this my list and the slicing technique that we have studied. I want to just delete from 2 to 3. So if I do that, and if you say my list again, you'll see that it has now 1 3 4 5 5, 2 and 3 has been deleted. So next thing you can also do is simply call delete, and if you say delete my list, whole list will be deleted. and you'll see this my list is not defined because we have just deleted our my list completely from here. So next thing is you can also make use of the remove method in order to delete some element of the list. So let me create my list again, and here I'll say A, B, C and D are the element of the list. And if you want to remove, you have to call my list again and just add the remove method. So when I just remove, let me say I want to remove C from here, and if I just print again my list, you'll see C has been removed from your list. You can also do same tasks using the pop method. So you can say that my list and dot pop method is of the list, and you have to pass the index in this pop method. So when I just say 1 is the position for this B, so B has been popped out. That means element has been popped out from this list. So if you just do something like my list dot pop, it is going to give us as a default the last element of the my list, which is in this case the pop. That means it is going to get the last index, which is -1 index, if default value is passed or nothing value is passed in the pop method. It is going to get us the last element of the list. So these are the couple of functions which are important functions of the Python list. So we have couple of lectures to learn about the data structures in the upcoming lecture. We have seen bunch of the method like insert, like pop method, and remove, insert, append, every method which is important in the list. You can also take a look on this len method, which is going to give us the length of the list, and this is the one because we have just popped out every element. Only my list has the one element, which is A, so it is going to give us the length of the list as a 1. So these are the couple of functions we have learned in this lecture. In the next couple of lectures we'll also see about the more advanced data structure. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about the string, which is very important part of the Python programming. So first of all, what is a string? So a string is a sequence of characters, and you know the characters are simply a symbol. That is, we have the 26 characters in the English language. So these are the characters, which is ABCD. All of these are the characters, and the combination of that characters is a string. So when I say ABCD, this is the string, but normally we put string inside this quotation. So if I say ABC inside this double quote, this is your string, which is your first string. So a string is only the sequence of characters which will give you some meaning. So if you say your name, then that is also your string because it is also the combination of characters. So we normally call the combination or sequence of characters as a string. So let's see how to create the string and store them into the variables. So if I say my string, because we don't need to just specify the types in this Python programming, it is done dynamically by the Python interpreter. So if I say hello, and if I just create this string, and if I just want to print this, which is your my string, it is going to give us the same string over here. So a string can be created with the double quote, and it can be also created with the single quote. And if you see here, let me create a new string with the same name, but in this case I'll use triple but a single quote over here. And if I just close this with the same quote, if you do in this way, then this is going to work. But if you just remove one quote, and if you see over here, we have 3 opening quotes and only the 2 closing quotes, it is not going to work. So it is not going to work in this case. You have to put 3 closing quote, and then you have now created your string, which is hello string. You can also give the triple quotes if you have to make a multi-line statements or multi-line string. So if I say my string, and if I want to create the multi-line string, then I can say that hello, and I can say welcome to let's make this multi-line by going down, and if I say welcome to the programming world, and if I just close with these triple quotes, then if I just hit enter, you'll see that we have just extended our string. So it should be capital S, and now you can see we have the /n, which means we are in the new line, and this is our string. The whole lot of string was created by these triple quotes, which is used to extend the multiple lines. In this case, you can just go down and do multiple lines. So this is also one type of commenting, which we just did in the previous lectures, how to comment with the multiple line, because the single line commenting is with this hash. If you want the multi-line comment, it should be done with these triple quotes. So next is we'll see how to assess the characters in the string. So let's make a string and let's see how we can just assess each of these characters from the string. So let me say str is my string. So instead of str, I'll just make a new let me say name, and if I say Python is the name, and if I hit enter, and now if you want to just see or fetch the item from this string, you can do from the index. So you can see here in the Python, p is at position 0, y is at index 1, t is at 2, and similarly 1 increment at a time. So if I want the character that is y, then I have to give name first and give the square bracket, and inside that square bracket you have to put the index. So p is at index 0, that means if you want y, you should put 1 over here, and if I hit enter, you are going to get y. So you have to just assess through this indexing technique, and just remember that in the string and in the list, the index starts always from 0, it is not from 1. Just remember that. If you want to get this n, you can do simply something from 0, count from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I just say name, okay, if I say here name and 5, you are going to get the n. But you can also do in the another wise, that is the negative indexing, which is -1. So -1 is at n, so n is at index -1 and the 5. If I hit enter, you are going to get n. If you want this negative indexing from maybe t, if you want t with the negative indexing, you have to count from -1 and decrement in the each of these characters. So n is at -1, o is at -2, -3, -4. So if you just pass -4, you are going to get t. So this is the way to just get or fetch the characters from the string. You can also slice the string. So if I say something like name, and if you want to just fetch the element from y to t, then you have to count the index first, because p is at 0th index, y is at 1, 2, 3. So if I say 1, 2, 4, because this position which is at there is exclusion position. So if I hit enter, you are going to get yth. But if I say name and 1, 2, 3, so if I say 1, 2, 3, you are not going to get h, because although t or h is at position 3, but this is exclusion position. That means it will count from 1 and go till 3, or basically till 2. So it will print from 1 to 2, but not, it will just include only 2 but not 3. It will just exclude this position. So this position is exclusion position. So you have to include the index that is bigger than that the character you want to include. So if you want to include from y to t, that means you have to include the index of 0th or o here. If you want to index to be included of o, then include the index of the n over here. So if you want to do something like from s to n, then you have to do something like first of all count. So p is at 0th, 1, 2, 3. So inclusion position will be 3 and exclusion will be till the last. So last, if it is till the last, you don't need to give any index. If I hit enter, you will get HON. So just remember that we can just slice this string, and we'll learn about this in the more detail in the list lectures, which is very important to learn about, because in the list also we can just get this idea of a slicing and taking part of the list. So string can also offer the same idea of slicing the string, that is getting some part of the string. So next thing what you can do here in the string is to delete the string. So first of all, before deleting, let me just close this one and open the new terminal. And here, first of all, let's see how we can just assign something to the string or not. So if I say my string, and now if I say that it is a string, and if I want to assign something to the string, so if I do something like in the position 5th position, I want to assign value A. So if you count the position, that is 5th, 0th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that means it should include over here before G, but it is not valid in the case of string. So string object does not support item assignment. So just remember that strings are immutable. That means the element of a string cannot be assigned. So you cannot do this in the case of a string, but you can do this in the case of the list or any other data structures, but in the case of a string, this is not valid. So next thing is we can also delete the string. So let's see how we can delete the string or not. So if I say delete with this del command, and my string, okay, it should be my string, and if I want to delete only first character, which is basically the T, because the index start from 0th, then this is also not valid. If I hit enter, string object does not support item deletion. So item deletion or a character deletion of the string is not valid, but it will be valid in the case of any other data structure like list or a dictionary, but in the case of the string, this is not valid. All you need to do is completely delete all the string. So that should be done like this. My string, if I hit enter, now if you just check the my string, it is not there. It is not defined because it has been deleted completely. So next thing in the list is the concatenation technique in the list. So let's see how we can just concatenate the string. So if I make two string, hello first string, let me make a string 2, that is Python. And if you want to concatenate this, you have to do something like, first of all, take this string, what is str1, and add this with str2. If you do this, you are going to concatenate this string. You can also do something like a multiplication of a string. So if you want to get the multiple hello, you can do something like str1 multiplied by 3 times. So this arithmetic operation is valid in the case of a string. You can multiply your element, you can also do addition, which is basically a concatenation between the string, and you can do this type of operation in the string. So let's see some of the operations or some of the inbuilt method of a string now. Let me close one more time, and here let's see some of the inbuilt function of the string. So first of all, I'll just make a simple string, and in this string I'll say happy birthday. So let's change this string or manipulate this string by inbuilt function of the Python. So first of all, we'll see the capitalize function. So let's see how this works. So I'll say capitalize. Just make sure you just enter this function. So when I just hit enter, you can see that with this function, only the first letter will be capitalized and all the letter will be in the lowercase. So this is the capitalize function. And if I check again, that is the my string, it will be unchanged. You can see this is the same string which is just created, but we change with the capitalize, but it is not happening anything over here. This changes has not been reflected to the original string because strings are immutable. They cannot be changed basically. This function, if you want to make change, you have to assign it like this. If I say my string, and now I have to call inbuilt method in this string with capitalize. If you do this, now you can see that your string will be changed to this capitalized. Just remember that. So next function we can see is the lower function. If I say lower, this is going to convert all of these characters into the lowercase. Next one, it would be obviously the upper one. If we say the upper, this is going to change whole lot of characters into the uppercase, and this is the way to just see if we can just convert to the uppercase and lowercase. Let's see some other function. So let's say that abc is a string, and let's call is lower method over here. And if you do this, then obviously this character are in the lowercase, that means it will just return us a true. You can also do similar to this, is this upper, and it is also going to give us a true because that is in the uppercase. So next thing is to strip. So if you want to strip the spaces, so if I do space, some spaces, and abc and some spaces, and if you want to strip these blank spaces, you can simply call this strip method, and you will get that that is the characters of the string without the blank spaces. So this is the handy method, which is the split strip method, not split. So this is important method. You can also see the find method. You can also check for the count method. So if I say something like, okay, a b c d e f, and if I just find some characters, maybe c, and if I hit enter, it is going to give us a 2, the position. You can also see the index method. So these are some of the methods. You can also see the len method, which is going to take any object. So if I do this, then you are going to get the length of the string object over here, which is passed with the 3 characters. So these are some methods which are quite handy in the case of the string. We have covered a lot of things in the string part. So in the upcoming lecture, we'll learn about more complex data structures, and we'll just see some of the examples, real world examples. So see you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. This lecture will be all about the dictionaries. So we have learned about the list now, and now it's time to see more complex data structures, which is dictionary. So it is important lecture of the Python programming. So first of all, if you see the dictionary, it is quite similar to that the dictionary, English dictionary, which we used to look up for the words and we get the meaning. So there is a key, which is basically your words, and there is a meaning, which is your values. So this is the combination of key and values, and we make use of this key and value to create the dictionary, to assess the dictionary. So just remember that. So this is the main reason we call this as a dictionary. So dictionary is an unordered collection of items. So what does that means is, in the case of a list, it is ordered. So if I make any dictionary, and if you want to just assess the element, it won't be ordered, it will be unordered, and we'll see about that in the next minute. But for now, just remember it is quite similar to the list, but it is unordered and it has the key and value pair. So next thing is, we just combine the element in the form of a key and value. We have already said this, and now let's see how to create the dictionary and how to do some manipulations in the dictionary. So first of all, we have to give name to the dictionary. So I'll say my dict is my dictionary. And to create the dictionary, if you remember, to create the list it was square bracket. For now it is dictionary, so it should be curly braces. So if you hit enter, and if you just say the my dict, then it is the empty dictionary. If you check the type of this my dict, if you want to do this, then you could see the class is the dictionary type. So the next thing is to just input some of the characters to this dictionary. So let's make our dictionary. So first of all, I've said there is a key, and you give the colon, and there is a value. So this is the way to create the dictionary. So next one is also the key value. So you can enter any number of key value over here. So key would be something, let me say 1, and the first, let me say, is orange. So the first value is orange, and the second, let me say, it is apple. Now if you just print this my dict, then it is your dictionary. A complete dictionary is been just created over here. So you can also do something like, okay, let me make a dictionary with a multiple mixed keys. So if you see, we have now key as a string, and let me say John, which is also the string, key and value both as a string. But for now I have to just create the mixed key value pair. That means I'll just insert some of the list over here. So this is a completely valid. Until and unless you open with the curly braces and close it, it is going to be your dictionary. So just remember that we can make any data type over here as a key and the value. It can be list, it can be string, it can be integer, it can be boolean, anything. So this is also completely valid. If I print this my dict, then you can see that is a dictionary. So you can do this completely. So next way is to create the my dictionary with the method which is inbuilt method, dict method. So if I do this, and in the dict method you have to pass in the forms of mapping. Mapping is in the form of your tuple. So let's see how can we make this. So I'll say one will be apple, and this apple is your string, so that means you have to put in the quote. And let's close this one, and next element will be also in the tuple. So this is the tuple, and if I just close this one, close first your list and close your dict method, then we have now just created my dictionary. So you can see this is the same dictionary that we just created with this curly braces. Now it is created with this dict method. So this is the way to create your dictionary. So let's see how we can assess now this dictionary. So first of all, so let me just make a simple dictionary, and I'll just make with these curly braces. It is easier to do. So I'll say name is my first key, and I'll say John is the name, and next would be age. Age is integer, so I'll say 23 is the age. Now let's see how we can just get the element which is John from this dictionary. If you want to do that, then first of all you just take that name of the dictionary and put your this square bracket. Normally we do in the case of a list and in the case of string too. If you want to access any element from the list and from the string, we make use of this square bracket, and that is same for the case of a dictionary. So if you want the element from the dictionary, it is not through the indexing technique. So if you just remember, in the case of a list, we used to access the element from the index. We used to normally pass 0 here to get the first element, 1 to get the second element. But in the case of dictionary, we have to give the keys. So if you want the values, just give the key inside over here. If you want the age, just give the keys over here. So if I hit enter, you will get 23. If you want the name, that is John, then you have to pass the key as a name, and you are going to get the John. So this is the way to get. Or the next way you can also do is something that is get method of the dictionary. So you can now give the age over here and close your get method. You are going to get 23 over here. So get is also the one way to assess the element of the dictionary. So you can do this way, or you can do just by passing these key value pair, or basically keys, to just get the values out from the dictionary. So let's see now how can we change or add element to this dictionary. So first of all, let's see how we can update the values. So what if I want to change this age from 23 to 27? First of all, you have to assess that element, and that is done by this way. And now you have to assess the age, and in this age I want to assign something like 27 values. Then if you just print now my dict, then you are going to see that age has been changed from 23 to 27. So this is the way to just assess the element, change the element of your dictionary. If you want the addition of the item which is completely new, then you can do something like add address to this dictionary and change it to maybe your country name. Now if you just see this dictionary, you can see the address has been added as Nepal over here in this dictionary. So this is the way to change or to add element to your dictionary. So let's see now how we can just remove this dictionary, or basically how we can just change the element of this dictionary. So first of all, let me just copy this and let me just clear all of this. So now let me create the same dictionary over here, and okay, if I just hit enter, your dictionary is created. So if I see the dictionary, then this is your dictionary. So let's see some of the operations we can do on this dictionary. So first of all, let's see how we can just pop out the element from this dictionary. So first of all, you have to just get that dictionary, and after that you will see the method that is saying pop method is same as that of list. Now if you want to pop up the element, you have to pass the keys to it. So what you want to have to pop is basically, I want to pop the age, and if you do this, and it is going to give us 27. Now if you just see the dictionary, then 27, or basically this whole key value pair was been removed from this pop method. Now we have changed our dictionary. So you can do this, or you can simply do something like pop item methods, and that does the same as before. So this is the way to just delete or access the item. You can also search on the Google for the inbuilt method of the dictionary. So these are the common method to see that is a pop, how to access them, how to delete them, and basically how to just access the element of the dictionary. We'll see much more advanced programming in the upcoming lectures about the list comprehensions, object-oriented programming, and that will be the wrap for this lecture. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. This lecture is about the object-oriented programming. So Python supports multiple programming paradigms. So we have already seen about the functional programming, that is defining the function to do tasks, that is following the drive principle, that is don't repeat yourself technique, and we have learned about packing and unpacking the arguments through the functional programming. So now in this lecture we are going to learn about the objects. So we'll simply perform the same functional programming but with the creation of the object, that is making the instances and creating the class in object, and seeing the most basic advantage and basically the paradigm of the object oriented programming. So let's get started. So before that, let me tell you about the object. So what is basically object? Let me open my document over here. So you could see we have the object over here, bird. So this is object. So just think bird is an object, and we have the attribute and methods to this object. So first of all, this object has its attribute, it has its own properties. So you can see this bird can have the name, so this bird can have its age. So these are the properties or the attribute to this bird. So if you make another object, they can have their different name or their different age. So this is basically unique. So attributes will be unique to each of these objects. So this is bird, or basically if you make something like, let me say, penguin. So if you make the penguin object, it will have different name, it will have different age. And if you make something, let me say, parrot or sparrow, then it will have different name and different age. You can say same case for the sparrow. So each of these objects will have unique name and the age, but their method will be common. They can sing, they can dance. So bird object having that, let me say, we'll make the class as a bird in this lecture, and we'll see how this object oriented programming works under the hood. So first of all, let me just open my script over here, and I have just saved this script. So first of all, in order to create the class, you have to call with this keyword saying class, so all in the lowercase. And now let me say bird is my class. So let's give the colon to represent that we are creating this bird class. So now we are inside this class. So first of all, in the class we'll have the attributes. So you can simply say something like species. So that will be bird. So this is your parameters, or what we call the attributes. So you can see these are the attribute to this bird. So species will be bird, and the next one is your method to the class. So let me just define one real quick function over here. So if you just remember, we have to define the method in the class, that is with this def keyword. So if you just remember, in the previous couple of lectures we have defined the function with this same def keyword. So that means this is also a function, but this is bound to particular class. So if any function is bound to any particular class, we normally call it as a method, but it is same as function. We will define it with a def keyword. Now let's do something like double underscore init and double underscore. So this is the first main method of any class. So just remember that this is the first method, which is init method, and we normally call it as a constructor in other programming language like Java. So if you just see over here, what we are doing is we're just making a constructor, and let me just type here real quick and show you what is going over here. So if you just remember, in the document over here, I've said you that this is the object. It will have its own attribute, name and the age. So we are just defining a constructor that is the first method to this class bird with this init method, and this method has this self. So this self is bound to particular object. So just remember, the first argument to any method of the class is going to be self. If you make any other method, let me say the new method, and that will be sing, then the any method, the first argument should be self. So just remember that. If you just remove the self, it is not going to work. So you have to put every time the self as a first parameter in the method of the classes. So if you see here, after the self we have the name and the age. So these are the attribute to the particular object. So let me say self this, and the next one would be song. Okay, we'll just pass as a song, which is going to be sing by the bird, and we'll just say return by formatting something, and I'll just say sings, and let's format with format keyword. We know how to format, that is by the format function. And now if you say something like name and the song that you just pass, this is not going to work. So let me show you why this is not going to work. So before that, I have to make the object. So first of all, just remember, in the object oriented programming, first part is creating a class that we just create here with the class keyword, giving the name of the class. And just remember that the naming convention over here, class name always starts with the uppercase, that is B over here is capital. If you make any other class like bike, then B will be capital over here. So this is a bird class, so the first letter of the class will be in uppercases. And after that, the first method of any class is a init method, which is the constructor, and this method is going to be called when you instantiate the class's object. So if you make the instances of the class, then this method is going to be called automatically. So let me show you how to just make instances of the classes. So in order to make the instances, you have to give the name to that object. So first of all, let me say the bird will be penguin. So penguin is my bird. So this is the name. So this is the name of the object. So after that, you have to type the class's name. So that is bird. Okay, we are just making a class name here, bird. So this is a bird, and give the parenthesis. So I have told you before that to make the object of the class, the first method that is going to be invoked is this constructor. So when you just pass this as a bird, when you just create this penguin as an object of this bird class, this method is going to be called automatically. And if you see here, we have different argument to this function or the method. So first is self. So self is particularly just denoting that this is the current object. So self should not be assigned, but this name and age should be assigned. So let's give the name and the age to this bird. So the penguin bird will be he. Okay, I'm just giving the name randomly, and the age is, let me say, 4. So if you do this, then you have created the penguin object of this bird class, and this method is going to be invoked. And if you see here self, so if you see here, this self is pointing to this particular object. That means you need not have to explicitly assign this self value over here. You need not have to be passed, but except self, all of these arguments should have the positional argument right here. So we are just giving he to this name, we are giving for to this age. Now if you see here, this self is pointing to this particular penguin. That means we are making this name and age of this bird class pointing to this penguin, and we are just denoting that this name should be he and this age should be for. That means we are assigning this he and for to the object class attribute. So if I talk here about this attribute or the properties of the object, that is name and age, that means we're just saying something like, okay, assign this bird name and age as the class attribute. So we're just doing that. So let me just roll it back again, and now if you just see here, we are creating this penguin class. So that means we have now name and we have now age. But let's go over here, and we have to now call the sing method. Let me just call this sing method. So sing method is not the init method or the constructor. So in order to call any other method that is beyond that normal method or basically constructor, that is going to be called with the object. So first of all, just give the object name which we just created over here, that is penguin dot sing. So dot is to be given period, and this method is to be called. So if I say penguin dot sing, and now we have to pass song, because I have already told self is not to be assigned by anything, but the song has to be assigned. So if I say hello is the song that the penguin is singing, so if I just call this, then let's see if this is going to work or not. So obviously this is not going to work, and I'll show you why. So it is saying that name is not defined. So let's go and see why it is not defined. So the interpreter is not showing any error while creating the object. That means we have successfully created the penguin object, but while defining or while calling this sing method over here from this object, we are getting error. So hello has been passed as a song. If we see here, this song is not the attribute of the class. If it has to be attribute of the class, it should be assigned over here, and it should be given with the name of self dot song to be the song, because we have to assign it with the self, because we are just denoting to this class attribute, but it is not the song which is the attribute. That means you don't need to just do something like self dot song, because it is not your class attribute. But if you see this name is class attribute, which is this attribute. We are not passing anything from here, so that means it should have self dot name, which is just denoting to this penguin object and this song. So if I save this again and let's press F5, and okay, it is not doing anything because we're just returning, but we are not printing. Let's go over here and print this. Let's save this, press F5. It is saying he sings hello. He was the bird name. Obviously let's give something name here. Green is bird name, and it is saying hello is singing. So let's save this and press F5. Then it is saying green sings hello. That means we have now successfully called this sing method of this bird class from this object, which is penguin object. So you can see we are making the instances here. So this is instance, which is obviously the object penguin, and it is called from this bird class. And if you just make the instances, the class or basically the method that is going to be invoked automatically is this init method, which is obviously your constructor, and this self is just denoting to this object. That means we don't need to pass anything to the self, and after that this is all the positional argument which should be passed while calling this bird class, and that is with the green is the name, 4 is the age. If you want to reference the age, you can just go here and let's see sings, and his age is, you can format now. But now we are just passing self.name at this position, song is passed at this position, and age should be passed at this placeholder. But now again, if you say something like only age, and let's save this and press F5, then it is not going to run again, because age is not defined, because age is the class attribute. So if you want to access the class attribute, it should be from this self. So if you just remember, or if you are from any other programming language like Java, it should be something like this in the case of Java. So this is in the case of Java, we are just pointing to the particular object, and in the case of Python, it is done with self keyword. Let's save this and press F5, and it will show us Green sings hello hello and his age is 4. So we have successfully created the bird class over here, Penguin, and we have seen how to just define a method. So next thing is, we have seen here the methods is sing and the dance. So let's create this dance method also. So you know how to create the method now. So it is done inside the class, and we'll say dance. And now the first argument to this method will be self, and we don't want anything to be passed, only self. That means we'll just make the function over here, we'll just return something from this function, and that is just is now dancing. So let's format this, and this should be formatted with, let me say, name. So if you again do only name, then this is not going to work, because this name is your class object. So it should be just referenced with this self keyword, because it is the class attribute, just remember that. And now if you just go down here, and in order to call this dance object, you have to call from your Penguin. So before that, let me print again, and it should be Penguin, which is your object. And in order to invoke any method of the class, you have to just give the period, and the dance is the method you want to invoke. And if you just pass here nothing, that means, if you see, I have already told that self need not to be assigned, and after self there is nothing. That means you will just simply call this dance. If I save this now and press F5, you will see Green is now dancing. That means we have just created the Penguin here class. And now you can also create any other object. So let me say parrot is my next object. So it is also a bird, it is also created from the bird class. And now blue is the parrot, which is obviously not true. Green will be the parrot, but let me say it is blue, and 5 is the age. And you can now just call this, okay, it should be printed first, and let me again now call this sing method. Let's see how this works. So if you see, in this sing, you have to call with the song. So we have to pass the song again. Hey hey is the song. Let's save this again, press F5, you will see now blue sings hey hey and his age is 5, which you just pass here, which is basically the parrot object, and we are just calling this, which will be assigned to this age and name. And now parrot is also singing. So you can see we can make the instances of the class multiple time or many time. You can also make another bird. Now if you make sparrow, and okay, sparrow, and it is also created from the bird class, and it will have the different name. Let me say or is the name, and it will be 45 days. And let's print this again with sparrow now, and it is also singing something. Haha is singing. Let's close this, save this, press F5, we'll see or sings haha and his age is 45. So one thing you can see over here is every object will have different attributes, which is name and age. So you can see Penguin has different name, different age, parrot has different name, different age, sparrow has different name, different age. So each of these objects will be different in terms of its properties or the attributes. But if you see here, the method sing and a dance is common for all of these instances. So that is common for Penguin, that is common for parrot, because we are just calling the sing and dance for each of this. So that is the important thing of the object oriented paradigm. Will make our object to perform different tasks that is from this bird class, or basically will make a class which will be a prototype from which object can do something. So this will be common for many objects, but just remember each of these objects is independent of each other. They can work independent of each other. This penguin can do something else than the parrot, but they will be inherited or they will be derived from this prototype as a class. So in the next lesson we'll learn about the inheritance, the most important programming paradigm of the object oriented. So let's see in the next chapter, which is going to be really interesting chapter. So this will be wrap for this lecture. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about important characteristics of object-oriented programming, that is inheritance. So first of all, what is inheritance? So inheritance is a way of creating the new class. We'll make a new class for using details of an existing class. So we'll have the two classes and they will interact in a way that one classes will be parent and another is the class that will inherit some characteristics from the parent class. So let's see how this new formed classes will be the derived classes or the child from the parent class, and the first class, that is the existing class, will be our base class or the parent class. So let's see. So we have done a couple of coding in the previous lecture. We have just made a class, a bird class, that will have the constructor that will be called automatically when you just instantiate the object of the class, and the next one is creating the method of the instance, that is sing and dance. We have created a bunch of instances here saying the penguin, parrot, sparrow. So let's make a new class over here, and this will be also the bird class. We'll just go with the bird here. And now the first method, I have already told you that the first method is going to be the init method, that is going to just instantiate or basically going to get us idea of the constructor. And here I'm going to say that instead of just assigning some of the attributes or properties of the classes, I'll say bird is the class. So this is going to just give us information when just instantiating, that is this is the bird class. And the next method I'm going to create is info, and I have told you before that the first argument will be only the self here. So next is I'll just say print, and this is going to be bird. So we're doing is we're just creating some of the methods over here. And now let me say swim method, and in this swim only I'll tell is go bird swim. So this is the masses. So this is our parent class. So let me say this is our parent class, which is the bird class. Let's make another class now, and let's see, this is your child class. So let's make this child class. So it is also created by the same class keywords, and now I'll say parrot is my class. And if you want to get information that is inherited from this bird class, the class should be inserted inside this parenthesis. So this is the inheritance. So let's see what we just did here. We just created the child class, and if you want to inherit something from this bird class, it should be inside this parenthesis. If this wasn't the bird, if it was, let me say, penguin, then it should be inside this parenthesis. If you want to make use of that code, it should be inside this parenthesis, but in this case we are making bird, so I'll just stick with this bird. And now after the bird, we have to define the init method again, because it is also the new class, and the first method to any class will be init. I've already told you before. So I'll just say self again. And now here what we're going to do is we are going to print something. So we are going to print parrot is the class. Let's see, this is the class. The next thing what you're going to do is we are going to define info for this class too, and this is going to print us that this is penguin, not penguin, it is parrot. And the next thing is parrot will just, let me say, run, and I'll say self again, and just give some information here, run boy faster. Okay, we're just creating a bunch of method to this parrot class now. So I've told before that while you create the class, the next thing you need to do is instantiate the object of that class, that is to make the instance of the class. So first of all, let me say that is Paro is the name of the parrot, and let me just instantiate this parrot. And we don't need to pass anything to this while instantiating, because this init method is going to be called and there is nothing except the self. So self is not to be instantiated or given any parameter to that. That means it will just call this parrot. So let's say this is parrot, but if I say paro, and if you just remember from the previous lecture, if you want to call any method of that class, it should be done from the object dot and just say I'll just call info. Okay, and the next is paro dot, and let's see, I want to call swim. Let's save this and press F5. So let's see what we have just done here is we're not getting any error. So if you just remember, we are just creating the instances, we are just calling the info method, which is the method inside here. But if you see swim, can you see swim anywhere over here? We are just making the instances, we are not making instances of this bird class. If it was the bird, then we don't have any problem, because info is also inside the bird, swim is also inside the bird. In this case, we'll see that okay, go bird swim, bird is the class, so that is perfectly fine. But here we're not dealing with the bird, but we're dealing with the parrot, and still we're not getting any error. We are getting go bird swim, although this method, this swim method, is not inside this parrot. So this is the one part of inheritance. So what we just did was we just had the inheritance. That means everything that is inside this bird class should be also inside this parrot class. So what we just did was we just copied everything from this and we just copied over here. So init method is not going to be copied, but except init method everything is going to be copied. So this swim method, info method will be copied from the bird class to this parrot class. So that means we can call this swim method as if it is inside this parrot class, although it is not in the parrot class, but we just did inheritance. That means we can call this swim method. So that is the importance of this inheritance in the object oriented programming. So next thing I want to show you here is the super method. So if I say super, and if I just call this init, let's see what is happening over here. Let's save this first and press F5. Then it is saying bird is the class, parrot is the class, parrot go bird swim. So let's see, let's put it right here and let's show you what is happening here. So first of all, what we did was we just created the parrot object, so no problem over here. We are getting this init method to be called now because we are just instantiating this. So if you just call or invoke this init method, which is the constructor of this parrot class, we have this super method. So super is just pointing to this super class, that is the parent class. So we are referring from this super that this super should call this bird class and this init method is invoked. That means this print bird is class is going to be invoked first. That means if you see over here, bird is the class was the first thing that is going to be printed, because this is the first method that is invoked by this statement. After that it will go here and it will print parrot is the class in the next statement, which is over here, parrot is the class. And after that it is invoked, it will just call the info method of this paro, which is this, and it will just print parrot, which you can see over here. And last is swim, which is obviously not in the parrot class, but we have the inheritance. That means we can also call the swim method of the parent class, and it is giving us information of go bird swim. It's right over here, go bird swim. So if you see here, this super method is going to just deal with the super or a parent class, which in this case is bird. And the one way to just find child class and parent class is if you just make this class, and inside the parenthesis if you have any other class, this is going to be your super class or a parent class, and this class which is going to inherit that parent class is going to be the child class. So this is the inheritance which we just learned over here. So this is very important paradigms of the object oriented programming, and this is the important things to learn. So we'll see how to work with these and work with the networking interface while we hack and we just do some of the bunch stops in the Python programming section. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about list comprehensions, which is the important concept of the Python. So let's get into it. So first of all, what is the list comprehension and how it differs from the for loop? So if I make any example over here, so let me say for x in range, when we know the range function and how it works, so let me say range 20, and here I'll make the condition here. If x is modulus of 2 is equal 0, then let me just print my x, which obviously you should see from this code we're going to get only the even number from 0 to 19, and let me just print this, and it is going to get us 0 to 18. Basically 19 is odd number, so it is going to print 0 and 2, 3 and all of this, which is obviously the even number. But if you want to do this with the list comprehension, it will be more readable because it will be executed in a single line. So instead of making all of these line, it will be only the single line. So let's make the list comprehension in action. So let's see how this works. So first of all, I'll say number and I'll say it is even number. So all you need to see here is list comprehension operation will just result us that is list. So everything you do here will result the list. That means we have to have the list over here. So let's do the operation. So first of all, here will be the expression, so what you want to return, and after that you will have the loop, and after that you will have the condition. So this is your list comprehension. So let me just comment it out again. Let me just cache this one and let's go over here and let's paste it. Okay, it should be down here. Let's paste this. So first of all, it should be expression. Okay, so expression here is obviously the x. We want to just return the x, which is expression. After that it should be loop, which will be for x in range 20, which is our loop, and the condition. Now condition here is if x modulus of 2 is equal 0. So this is your condition. Just close your this list because this is going to return us a list, so you have to close your list. And now let's print my number even. Let's save this. Let's remove all of this and let's save this again. Let's press F5. It is going to give us the number, but this time it is in the form of list, because list comprehension will always result the list, and we are just returning or printing that list, which is the result of the list comprehension. So you can see instead of this whole 3 line, this single line is more readable, because if you just know about the list comprehension, you'll see okay, this is expression and this one is loop and this one is a condition. So you can do multiple things with this list comprehension. So if you see here, this expression is a single expression and the loop can be multiple loop, and the conditions here can be also the multiple condition. If you say something like if, okay, I want to add another condition, if x is not equal to maybe 0, I want to have 0. So let's save this, and you can see now again we have omitted the 0. So this part was because of the for loop. So let me just remove again the for loop and let's save this, press F5. Now it will just omit 0 from our list comprehensions result, because we have added the new condition saying that omit that 0. If x is not equal 0, we'll just say x. If x is equal 0, we'll just continue with the loop again, doing nothing with the expression. So this is the list comprehension. It is pretty much easy to do. All you need to see is it is going to return us a list having the expression, loop and the condition. It is really easy to do, and the conditions can be the multiple. You can also add here the new expressions, the new loop, and you can do all of these things in the single line, which is the important factor of the list comprehension, making the code more readable for the programmer. So this will be wrap for this lecture. See you in the next one. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to learn about keywords in Python. So what are the keywords? So first of all, keywords are those type of words that are reserved in the Python. So you cannot use this type of words in your function name or variable name or any other identifiers. So these are basically reserved for their purpose. So Python has the 33 keywords in the Python 3.7, so they are all the case sensitive. So I have here the file here saying that this is the list of keywords. So you can see the false, class, finally. So these are the reserved word that is going to be used for the specific purpose. So you cannot use this file or this identifiers for any other purpose. So this is really important. So you can see these are the keywords. If you want to make, let me say, variable with the def, which is the keyword, and assign something value to it, it is not valid because you cannot use these keywords as your variable name. We'll see about this in the upcoming lecture in the detail, but for now you can see that keywords are the reserved word that cannot be used for any other purpose. They are basically doing only one task that is just defined specifically for their purpose. So you can see this true can be used as a boolean type only. So you cannot make variable name as true or function name as true. So all of these are your reserved word, which are normally called as keywords. So next thing is to see the statement. So let's see the statement now. Statement are basically the what we call, that is the Python interpreter execution instruction. So instruction that the Python interpreter can execute is normally called the statements. So we see the assignment statement now in this lecture. So we'll see that how multi-line statement can be assigned. So first of all, I'll just do some addition over here. 1, 2, let me say 3, let me say add more. I want to add more, but I want to go down to this line. So that means I have to make use of this backward slash and go down. After that I can make use of 4 again, and I can make use of 5, add me 6, and if I just hit enter now, so this is your statement. So if I want to print the value of a, I'll just print a here, and it will show us a 21, which is the addition of all of this value. So if you want to make use of multi-line statement, you'll simply pass here backward slash and just complete your statement over here. So statement is simply an instruction that is going to be executed by your Python interpreter. So next thing is your Python comments. So let me say 5 add me, or let me say 5 multiply with 6. If I say this is going to give us a 30, but if I say hash first and 5 multiply with me 6, then it is going to give us nothing, because this is your comment. So comments are really important. We use this hash symbol for starting to write a comment. So comment are very important while writing a program. It will describe what's going on, so that a person looking at your source code does have the feeling that this code is about the task that is going to be executed. Or basically if you just put any statement starting with this hash symbol, they are comment, they won't be executed with the Python interpreter. That means this will be ignored by the Python interpreter. So let me just open my new script, and if I save this again, let me say demo.py, and py extension is important, and it is right here. So let me just replace it, and now it is giving us okay. So now if we have here the demo file, so we have 2 demo file. Let me just close one. So now if I say that let me just print hello first, and let's go down here, and after that I have to just comment this out. This is print statement. If I save this and execute, then it is going to give us a hello but not the error of this is print statement. If I just remove this hash and if I save this and if I just execute this, it is going to show us invalid syntax, because this is a bunch of a string over here which is created which doesn't have any meaning. So if you want to give any information about the code, or if you want to just ignore that code to be executed by the Python interpreter, you simply put here hash to represent that this is your comment, and this won't be executed by the Python interpreter. And comments are for programmer, and it is to understand about the program. It is not for the Python interpreter. It will be executed only if you just remove hash. And if you want to give information about the code, you simply put hash and put the comment about what this code is going to do. In this case, this is the print statement that is going to be printed hello in the console. So this is your single line comment. We have a multi-line comment too, so let's see about that. So multi-line is basically, if you type here, this is my comment, it is in a multi-line. That means if you just put here single hash, it is going to only comment this single line. Everything you write over here will be commented, but if you just go down here, it won't be commented. So if you want to just make a multi-line comment, all you have to do is put here multiple quotes and just close with these multiple quotes. And now if I save this and execute, this is not going to have any effect because this is a multi-line comment. And if you just remove this one and remove this, if you save this, then it is bunch of a gibberish that will show us invalid syntax. So in this lecture we saw how we can just work with the statements and how to work with the Python comments. So see you in the next one. In this lecture, we'll see how to create a variables in the Python. So first of all, open your shell and give the variable name. So let me say name is my variable name, and let me say I want to give the name Sachin, which is my name, inside this double quote. So you can see inside this double quote we have passed something text inside here. That means this is a string. Like in many languages, it may be in the C, C# or Java, we don't pass here semicolon to end the statement. In the case of Python, you'll simply pass nothing over here. In order to see the output, or basically the content of that variable, you simply give the name and it will show us a content. If you want to give or make a integer variable, let me say I want to make the math variable which will contain 8. And if I want to see the content of a math variable, simply pass the name as a math and you will see the content as 8. If you want to give the math variable the same variable but with the different value 8.9, then it will be changed directly to 8.9. So this is the dynamic programming in the Python. That means we can assign any value in the Python and it will be valid, which is not in the case of Java or any other high level languages. And Python being a dynamic type language, it will be just valid in the Python. So you can make different variable over here. So you can make a boolean type. So let me say honest variable, and if I say true, so make sure that T is capital over here, because we have seen in the case of a keywords. So this is basically a keywords, and keywords are a case sensitive, so that means this T has to be capital. If you make something like true, this won't be valid. And if you make something like, let me say again, honest is true, this is the boolean type. If you want to see the class or what is this type of honest, and it will show us a bool, which means this is a boolean. If you want to see this type of the math, which is obviously the float, and if I say math type, it will show us a float. So float is basically a decimal, which is basically, you can see the content of the math over here, which is 8.9, which is the decimal. So float is for the decimal. If you want to see the type of the name, you will see it will show us a string. So if I say type of the name, it will give us a class is a string. So type is another function or a method that is going to show us a data type. So we have now studied about the string, which is inside this double quote. Anything that is inside this double quote is a string. If you type something like, let me say, hey I am, then this is also a string. So anything that is inside this double quote, or it can be also the single quote, hey, hello, everything that is inside this single quote or double quote is your string. Another is your number. So anything that is 5 or 6 or any number, so that is your number. And next thing is your basically this boolean would be true or false. So you can see we have seen a bunch of fundamental data types over here. So let me save this first. So we have a bunch of fundamental data types. So we have seen about the integer, string and boolean in this lecture. We have to explore further data structures in the upcoming lecture, but for now you can see we can also do multiple assignments to the variable. So we have seen how to create the variable. It won't be something like starting with var or starting with integer or starting with string. It won't be in the case of the Python. In order to create the variable in Python, it is really easy. You have to simply give the name of the variable, and let me say I want to create the integer variable having the health of the character to be 90. So this is your variable. So if you want to check the health, the content of the health, you simply pass the name and you will see the content is 90. So this is the way to create the Python variable. If you want the multiple assignment to the variable, that means if you want to create variable a, b and c, if you want to create variable a, b or c, so it should be here a, b and c, and if you want to have the multiple assignment to this variable, instead of just creating one, you can just pass here something like 5, 7, or if you want to just pass string here saying hey, then you can do this. And now if you want to just check the value a, b, c, you can see it is 5, 7 and hey. If you want to see a variable, it is 5, b is 7, and if you see c, it will contain hey. So this is the multiple assignment to the variable, or basically the multiple variable. So we have a rule or naming convention to create the variable in the constants in all programming language, and that is the camel case. So if you want to create the variable name, make sure it makes a sense, because if you want to give the player character name and if you just create the variable a, and if you say the player name this, so this doesn't make any sense. If you just see a, so it would make sense for you, but if you see that other programmers are using the same code of yours, they won't think that this variable a represents the player name. So make sure that every variable makes a sense. So if you say that name like this, or name of player, and give the player name, this will make really sense. So anyone will see your code will just think like, okay, this is the name of a player, and that will get the more sense to the other coder too, or maybe for yourself too, if you just go to the code back after a long time. So next one is to use the camel case. So camel case is really important notation to declare the variable, and it starts with the lowercase. So if you want to say create the name with the my age, so I'll say 89, and if I just print my age, then it is saying 89 over here. So this is your camel case that starts with the small or lowercase, and after basically one symbol or letter, you'll just make with a capital letter. So as to specify, these are the two words. So if you just end with, let me say, my and address, so after this one word, you start with the uppercase for the first letter, and you go with all the lowercase, and you just give your address. So this is the way or convention which will make much more sense, or basically will be more attractive when you just make your variable name. So next thing is to just Use the capital letter whenever possible to declare a constant. So if you want to create the pi variable, which will be 3.14, it should be all in uppercase. This is the way to create the constants. So you can also see the gravity. If you see this gravity 9.8, this is your constant, which is in the uppercase, all in uppercase. And never make use of a special symbol in the case of making the variable. So making like my has is and 90, this is not valid. This is not valid in the case of Python. Never make use of a special symbol while creating the variable. So a special symbol can be like this exclamation mark, @ sign, hash sign, or basically the $sign. All of these special characters are not valid, or the percentage, modulo sign, this won't be valid in the case of the Python, because all of these had the special meaning in Python. So this modulo is for the division, and this $sign and this hash for the comment, this all have the special meanings, so you can't make use of this in the variable name. So next thing is that you do not have to start your variable with the digit. So if I say 9 my name, and if I say hey, this is not valid because you can't have the variable that is started with the digit. Next one is that we have to put the constants in the separate module, and we'll learn about that in the upcoming lecture. But for now, just remember, for the constants, it better is to make a simple Python file where you can have all of the constant sorted in that file, and we'll make use of that file as a constant file, and we'll import and use in the different file. So these are the type of basics and the naming convention that we have to follow while creating the variable name, and that is to make much more sense while creating the variable and working with the logic in the upcoming lecture. But for now, we'll see about the type conversion. So I'll just open this demo file, and or basically we'll just go with the cell, and I'll show you here. So let me clear this first, or let me just close out and open the new terminal or new cell. And now here all you need to do is, first of all, let me say input command. So input is going to input you something. So I'll say enter your age. So I'll just say this, enter your age, and let me say that it should be inserted in the variable name age. I have created the variable age, and with this input command, so same as print command, this input command is going to input, because this is also a method that is going to input. So print is basically consoling out, and print input is basically inputting out. Your commands are basically what you just pass here. So if I say enter your age, and if I say 56 is my age, and if I hit enter, and if I say this age, you could see that we have entered here that is integer, but it has reflected out as a string. So I have already told you in the before lecture that anything is inside this double quote is a string, and if you see that is this 56 is the integer. So if I say type, which is the method to check that, if I say 56, then it will get you a string, which is a string. So if I say type only 56, now it will show us a string, basically integer, because this is an integer. But if you just input here that is 56, the age that was integer, which was inputted as an integer, has been converted into the string, which is done by this input method. So now all you need to do is type conversion, or typecast this integer to our string to the integer, because we want 56 not as a string but an integer. So in order to do that, we have the couple of method for the type conversion. If I say is, and now you can see that this is, which was integer, which was a string, has passed into this int method to be converted from a string to the integer. If I hit enter, now this is, which was a string, has been converted to the integer. If you want that back, that is basically I will say is integer and age. So let's go back, And now if I say age is now integer, but if you want to roll back to the string now again, you can do something like age str, which is another method to convert integer to the string or anything other to the string. So if I say enter again and see the age, it has been now typecasted to the string again, which was integer before, has been type converted or typecasted to the string. So these are the type conversion method which is done implicitly over here, which is converting integer to the string, string to the integer. We can also do boolean to string in this same manner, and this is the way to just perform some of the operations. In the next lecture we'll see output formatting, and we'll see how format method can be used in the next lecture. See you in the next one.